Alright everyone, welcome back. Well, I know it's been a while since we've had a new tutorial, so I thought we would liven things up with a little bit of 3D. I know it's been a while since I've done something, and there's been a lot of interest with some of the creative things you can do with 3D in Photoshop CS4 Extended. So I thought we'd explore that right here. And this is actually something I did on Photoshop TV not too long ago. And it's a way of turning 2D into 3D to create a very, very interesting effect. So here I have this image of this dancer that I need to put on its own layer. So I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to grab my lasso tool, and I'm just going to draw very loosely around the subject. And we'll just kind of go around here. Just loosely going around, kind of eliminating a lot of the other area. Because what we're going to be doing is using the Magic Wand tool, but by isolating it down to this area instead of the whole background, we're narrowing the range of tones that we need to eliminate. So we've got that selection active around there. If you hold down your Option key and click right inside of that selected area, it will snap to the edge of the subject. And it looks like it's doing it pretty cleanly. Now there's a couple of areas, of course, that it is including in there, like here by the shoe, and it's simply a matter of just grabbing that, holding down the Shift key, and just dragging and adding that area in there. And the rest of it I think looks pretty good. We're not going for perfection here. Doesn't need to be perfect. I'm going to press Command or Control J, and it will put that dancer on its own layer. So there you have it. So there he is. So I'm going to go ahead and create, well, I've gone ahead and created a new file here, and it's got a simple black background. So I'm going to take that subject and drag it over. Now, obviously, it came over a little bit bigger than I'd like it to be, so I'm going to press Command-T to invoke the free transform, but I'm also going to press Command-0, and that will expand the document to show me where the edges of this transform box are. So I'm going to hold down my Shift and Option keys and then scale that down toward the center, right about like that, and there we are. So I've got the dancer in there. It's got a little bit of fringing going around the edge here. I'm simply going to go into the layer menu, go down here to the very bottom. It cuts off screen, but trust me, it's there. The very bottom you see matting, and we're going to choose defringe. And I usually just put a big number in here just to overshoot it. It never really makes a big difference, but I'm going to put 10 in there. And you'll see, you saw how it magically cleaned those edges up. There's before, there's after. So it just makes that a little bit more smoother. So I'm going to do a select all, Command A, and I'm just going to center this subject right in the middle of the document. So that's all set. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the visibility of that layer for now. Go ahead and create a new blank layer. And let's set, over here in our toolbar, let's set the foreground color. Well, actually, I was going to say white, but let's actually do a color. I'm going to do kind of a really light blue here. Let's grab our brush tool, and we're going to use, and let's go ahead and set our default brushes here. Let's do basic brushes. Make it a very small brush, about a 2 pixel. I think that will work. Open up my brush options, and we're going to activate shape dynamics. I do want to have the pen pressure setting on here, so it will respond to the pen pressure, so it kind of fades out the edges of it. So I think that looks pretty good. Now, here's what we're going to do, and this is kind of a cool effect. I'm going to hold down my Shift key. I'm going to hold it down the whole time I'm doing this. And basically what I'm going to do is go up and down and left to right over this document. And I'm just randomly just drawing the line anywhere I go. You can see it's responding to the pressure, but what it's given me is kind of a grid, or a grid background in a sense, you know, with varying degrees of lines there. I'm not going to do too many, but I think you get the idea. So I have that, and that was just holding down that Shift key and going left to right, up and down with that brush. So we've got the dancer, we've got the lines. I'm going to put that dancer layer above those lines there. And let's select those lines and actually scale them a little bit. I'm going to press Command and Control T to free transform, and let's bring that down just a little bit. Now I want to add one last element before we go into 3D, and we're going to add a text layer. And let's just add the word dance, and conveniently it's using the exact font I was going to use anyway, which is this Terminator font that I found on dafont.com. So we'll go ahead and center that in there. So we've got the 3 elements. There's the text layer, the dancer, and the lines in the background there. I'm going to move this down to about here. I'm actually make that a little bit smaller. And I want the text to actually be filled with white. So I'm going to press D on my keyboard and then hit X so it brings white to the foreground. I'm simply going to press Option Delete. So there we have it. Well, now what we're going to do is go to the 3D menu and turn each layer into a 3D postcard. So under 3D, new 3D postcard from layer. So it'll do it to the text layer. Select the dancer, again, 3D postcard. Go to the outlines, once again, 3D postcard. So now each one is a 3D layer. So if I am selected on that layer that contains the lines and rotate this around, you can see it gives me a very interesting effect. So that looks good. Let's do a couple more things here. I'm going to select that topmost layer that contains the lettering for dance, hold down my Shift key and select the layer just beneath it, which is the dancer itself. Then we're going to go into the 3D menu and go down here to Merge 3D Layers. Now, you can only merge 2 3D layers at a time. You can't select 3 or 4 or 5 and merge them all together. You have to do 2 at a time. So we'll merge these 2 together. Then we'll select the one beneath it and add it to it. Again, merge 3D layers. And now what we have is one 3D layer, but it still contains 3 individual 3D objects. So if I grab my 3D rotate tool and rotate this, look what we get. We've got, and it's spaced out. You can see it's by default set it at a certain space apart from each other, but it's given me a very, very cool effect there. How about that? Isn't that cool? So now I'm going to scale this down. I'm going to use my axis widget here and highlight over the cube in the middle, and that's the scale setting. And I'm just going to scale that down a little bit so we can see the whole thing rotating here. And I think that looks pretty cool. Now, one thing I can do is add a layer style to this. Let's do an outer glow. And we'll give it kind of a light blue. And we'll spread that out a little bit there. Set that to hard light. Let's spread it out a little bit more. But doesn't that look cool? That is so cool. We'll just grab a 3D and we can just rotate that around. Now, I can position this anywhere as part of a design I'm doing, but one thing you can also do is animate it. So let's do that real quick. So let's say I want to start position here. I'm going to go over here and under the window menu, open up my animation panel. And we're going to go and twirl down and reveal our properties, and you can see that we have 3D properties that we can animate. So we're going to animate the 3D object position. So in this first position, let's go ahead and lock in a keyframe there for 3D object position, and let's move it down the timeline to about the 3-second mark. I think that looks good. And up inside the file, let's just take our rotate and then rotate that around in 3D. Looks really cool. And notice it automatically pops in a keyframe for that new position. Let's narrow our workspace. And I'm going to hit the space bar to go ahead and play that. It will render it out. As you can see, it's going through, and this little green line indicates that it is rendering those frames. And when it gets to the end and is done rendering each frame, it will play it in full motion. So let's just see what we get when that happens. As you can see, as it's moving in 3D, it's actually moving in 3D. You can see the space is moving and revealing certain parts behind it. It's not a flat two-dimensional file that we're rotating. It's got depth and it's got real movement to it. So it's almost done with the animating aspect of it. It's going to render that out and watch it play at full view, and watch how cool this is. See how it plays through there? Very, very cool stuff. So again, that's simple. We're not dealing with any 3D objects. We've taken simple two-dimensional layers, turned them or put them in a 3D space, and we're able to manipulate them. And we've spaced them out. It gives the illusion of depth by putting them and spacing them out on 3D layers. Very, very cool stuff with the new 3D features.